What's up, guys, and welcome back to the Join Dota League Season 5. It's going to be a best of 3 from Division 1 to Isurus Gaming, going up against North American Rejects, their first showing. So let's see how NAR are able to perform one of the newer American teams versus one of the older one. North versus South, so many things you could say, but right now, we'll see who's going to come away with the victory. I'm Mikelorus. I've got GrandisV here as well. I'm so excited to see how NAR are going to perform with this newly formed lineup.
Yeah, it should be really exciting. North American Rejects version 2, we haven't actually seen them in action yet, but a lot of old names. It's going to be Ushfog, MSS, and, well, their last one is Korok on the bottom, although he's not tagged up, and Chad is actually, excuse me for that, Bleak, yeah.
Yeah, so the whole cast here is here for North American Rejects, and well, this is a pretty good way to start. Sniper, one of the most annoying heroes in the game, and it's actually Isurus helping out North American Rejects a little bit with their bans, as Storm Spirit is kicked out in the first phase. That's more or less just going to pave the way for the sniper pick.
Yeah, Isurus have plenty of time in their draft to work around the sniper, but Storm Spirit is one of the best heroes against Storm Spirit. Or against Sniper, excuse me, just being able to bridge the gap with that Storm's Ball Lightning right up into the face of the Sniper and focus him down before the fight begins. Heroes of a similar vein that Isurus could be considering. Clockwork's probably at the top of my list, especially since the Batrider is all banned out, or already banned out. It's going to be a Queen of Pain as I collect my thoughts for Isurus Gaming, and this is going to function in a similar fashion to the Storm Spirit, offering them a way to instantly get into Sniper's face and burst him down with a Scream and Sonic Wave.
Now, we've seen Isurus Gaming run the Queen of Pain time and time again. It's DDX's hero, and he does play a decent one. However, he does tend to get into situations where he thinks he can do a lot more damage and get out, and then he ends up just suiciding. So DDX maybe is going to be playing a little bit too much of an aggro role for Isurus. At least that's what I've seen from the past couple of times that I've casted the teams, and that might be something that is going to be hurting the team in general, especially going up against a sniper. If you try to all in and kill the sniper with your burst damage Queen of Pain and you lose, well, first of all, you're dead, but also you're going to be facing up against a stacked sniper in the mid to late game. That's the last thing you want to do as a Queen of Pain, as any hero from Isurus.
Especially when there's backup like a Lion, potentially behind the sniper, offering a Hex or Earthspike can really stop that initiation stone cold. And DDX is a player that plays incredibly aggressively. When it works really, really well, and when it fails very, very hard. So we'll just have to see which side of the coin DDX is going to be on today with the Queen of Pain. There is potential that he'll be able to get off to a good start, however. We don't know what's going to be in mid lane against that Queen of Pain. There's still plenty of options. Lina Shadowfiend are available. The next couple bans are going to come out with Earthshaker and Tree, banned by Isurus, trying to make sure that North American Rejects are going to have a difficult time protecting those snipers, or that sniper, with Earthshaker and Tree being some pretty good defensive supports there. And Centaur Dazzle the bans from NAR.
Yeah, Dazzle also another one of those defensive supports that North American Rejects clearly not deciding to run for themselves. Centaur, I mean, it's a mediocre offlane hero. If I was North American Rejects, I'd be a little bit more scared about Isurus grabbing our Clockwork. He does pretty much the same things as Centaur, except does it a little bit better, especially when you're talking about protecting a sniper. Having a Clockwork and a Queen of Pain with the ability to jump in, lay in their burst, and then call it quits, that's exactly what Isurus are going to look to do versus the sniper. So Isurus, I don't know how much they were seriously considering the Centaur, but Clockwork definitely a threat, and once you grab the Clockwork for Isurus, you could follow that one up with something like a Skywrath Mage for Nadera, and then you're pretty much golden and good to go if you're Isurus. Skywrath Mage actually, just even without the Clockwork, looks pretty good here with the Queen of Pain already on their team. Or they could go Spirit Breaker. That's another way to go.
Usually a really peculiar pick, but this game it's going to be pretty nice anti-sniper tech for Isurus Gaming. Although maybe not as reliable in initiation as the Clockwork, Spirit Breaker can snowball pretty darn hard and is very good at bridging that gap and getting into Sniper's face. At that point, there's nothing that the Sniper himself can really do but try and man-fight the Spirit Breaker. And although that can work out, given sufficient amounts of farm, there's going to be a pretty wide window in this game where Isurus are going to have a lot of ways to jump into the Sniper's face, and unless the Disruptor and Lion are on point, they might find difficulty protecting that Sniper. Lion and Disruptor, however, are really good against Spirit Breaker, being able to cancel charge instantly with Hex, or just sending him back from whence he came with the Glimpse is pretty solid, and also having the Static Storm pretty much stops Spirit Breaker from doing anything in the fight. That instant silence is really annoying to work around for him and the Queen of Pain both.
Yeah, Disruptor good against both of those heroes, and that's, I mean, a pretty clean pick for North American Rejects. As you said, Sniper can't really do much by himself, so it's going to be up to the Disruptor and Lion to really do the heavy lifting and keep that Sniper alive. And that's why we see primarily the Earthshaker being banned out from Isurus, because that hero, that's usually his main and only job. Make sure Sniper doesn't die, or try your best to get a fissure wall so that the Sniper can lay down a couple of layers of shrapnel, therefore you can get some early kills. So North American Rejects, as to be expected, are going to be revolving their draft and Isurus Gaming both around this Sniper. And Isurus, they're already pretty well set off to deal with this Sniper, and North American Rejects, I would say, probably a little bit weaker at their defense than Isurus are at their offense. But of course it is going to come down to a positioning game. If Sniper is a little bit out of position, then it could just be all over for that Sniper, and well, then if North American Rejects don't grab a significant damage dealer, then just the entire team in general. But for Isurus, we're waiting for their 4th pick. 20 seconds left, and we could assume that they already have their 2 supports, 4 and 5 position filled in Spirit Breaker and Vengeful Spirit, unless I'm completely wrong. It's a Chen for Isurus, and Spirit Breaker is going to get some farm, it looks like.
Yeah, if not farm, he's going to get level support inside the off lane and get that extra boost towards getting Nether Strike online. Although his lane is not going to be very hospitable. With Lion and Disruptor as your 2 zoning supports, I can see the Spirit Breaker having a pretty tough time, depending on what that 3rd hero in the lane is. If it's Sniper, or something that's as good at zoning as a Sniper, the Spirit Breaker could end up falling pretty short inside the laning stage, but even with limited resources, the Spirit Breaker can still contribute with some charge ganks. We'll have to see how aggressive they're able to play, and it looks like Isurus are going to angle for a very aggressive role, but North American Rejects, interestingly enough, are going to pick up the Sand King. I want to say that this is going to be an off-lane Sand King for them.
Yeah, usually Sand King is not seen along with both Disruptor and a Lion. There's possibility for core Sand King. Offlane Sand King is decent for getting some levels up, always has that jungle to fall back into, very similar to the Bat Rider in that regard. You see if you could stay in the lane. If not, you go to the jungle, you farm and get your Blink Dagger, and that's pretty much the parallel there. Another possibility is we see a core Lion. Mid lane Lion used to be a thing, isn't really much of a thing anymore, but still, North American Rejects working with quite a bit of disable, quite a bit of ways to control the battlefield right now, and still, they're revolving this draft around the Sniper. The problem is that they're putting a lot of their eggs in this Sniper basket, and if Isurus shut down or slow down this Sniper early on, then Sand King, Disruptor, they're going to have to be completely on point, like getting 3-4 man Epicenters, Static Storms, if they want to redeem the fact that their Sniper isn't doing that much damage. We have a Bristleback as the final ban from Isurus, which would have been a great hero for North American Rejects to pick up, a tanky frontliner for the Sniper, but also a significant damage dealer.
Yeah, for sure. There's not really another hero that fills Bristleback's role perfectly inside this game, but they will look for something that is going to offer some sort of beefy frontline for them, because right now North American Rejects, they have a decent amount of initiation, they have a decent amount of damage with the Sniper, but they are lacking in the beef department. Let's see. What could they be laning? Presumably it's going to be a safe lane farmer for them. I wouldn't be opposed to something along the lines of a Sven. Maybe it's not a Sven in particular, but something in that mold. Tanky man-fighting strength carry.
Well, Spectre is the ban out. It's the hero that could instantly jump onto the Sniper. Anti-Mage in the similar vein can do it. Phantom Lancer, not as much so. And North American Rejects have an okay amount of AoE. It really depends on how well the Sand King does in the early stages. That will depend in the later stages how well the Phantom Lancer is going to do. But with Chen, Venge, and Spirit Breaker causing the havoc at the very early stages of the game, and then Queen of Pain jumping in a little bit more towards the middle, Phantom Lancer looks like he's going to get a lot of cover. And the offlane for North American Rejects, it doesn't seem like they could lane an offensive tri-lane just yet. It will, of course, come down to this last pick to see whether or not that's actually viable. But I don't think that they're going to be going for an offensive tri-lane, although Sand King, Lion, and one other is pretty dangerous. Then you have a core Disruptor, and I don't think that's actually something that they would be comfortable running. At least, I have never seen it before. Love to see a team try, but not sure if that'll work.
It's been played every once in a while, but I think that giving the Sand King a faster blink or the Lion a faster blink would definitely help out the team a little bit more than an Aghanim Scepter on Disruptor. There's no natural BKB carriers on the side of Isurus, or at the very least in the early game. Phantom Lancer doesn't want to be getting it very soon, and Queen of Pain and Spirit Breaker, although eventually BKB is going to be in their build somewhere along the line, probably not as a first item.
Yeah, maybe Spirit Breaker. I mean, it is going to be a core Spirit Breaker, and Alina is the last pick for North American rejects. If BKBs weren't going to be considered before, then they're definitely going to be considered now. North American rejects working with a hell of a lot of magic damage. That is pretty scary towards the Phantom Lancer. Of course, he's pretty fragile, more on the fragile end, and Chen Vengeful Spirit the same way. But North American rejects, I'm just concerned that they're going to run out of damage in the late game. Sniper has to get a ton of farm, and I don't really see that happening. He's probably going to be under some sort of pressure in the early mid stages of this game.
For sure. But then again, North American rejects might be able to make up for that lack in damage in the super late game. When it comes to the mid-game portion, when you have the Blink Dagger up on the Sand King, maybe a Blink Dagger on the line, in combination with the burst from Lina and Sniper, you can do a lot against Isurus' lineup. But then again, things get pretty sketchy as these HP pools on North American rejects are pretty limited. Even though they have a lot of CC to stop the Queen of Pain from getting a jump in, if she's able to get the Sonic Wave Scream on these heroes, she's going to drop them down to incredibly low HP, and it should be pretty easy for the likes of Phantom Lancer and Spirit Breaker to clean up. Maybe a first item BKB on the Queen of Pain is not that bad after all.
Yeah, it really depends on how well the Spirit Breaker goes. I think in this game more so than others, the item builds that the Queen of Pain and Spirit Breaker decide to go for will, depend on how well they're doing. If they're actually ready to fight, then Queen of Pain will be a lot more inclined to go for that BKB. Same for Dulce. So if they have a good time, then they'll kind of build their items on top of one another. But it really is going to come down to how these lanes are going to function. And Gnar, well, they have one melee hero, so their lanes are looking pretty darn strong. Isurus do have the advantage of like a burst ganky Chen, but the passive laning stage, if it's just going to be trading hits, getting farm, it's all in favor of North American rejects. They have pretty much all-star laners, and let's see who's going to be playing what on the North American rejects. It's MSS, who's going to be handling the Sand King. Ush is on the Sniper, he's going to be farming up. Fogged is going to be playing the Disruptor with Chatter Bleak on the Lion. That leaves Korok as the last hero, the Lina. Also boots first.
And on the dire side, Isurus going to be taking DDX on the Queen of Pain, presumably towards mid. Pepita on the farming Phantom Lancer. Vengeful Spirit support by fullback, going to be opening up with boots first as well. Nadera is going to be playing on the Chen. Last but not least, our Spirit Breaker by Dulce inside the woods. However, they're going to bump into that Chen. Can they get in range for the Burrow Strike with a little bit of shrapnel? So they can. And now Nadera's in a whole heap of trouble. He's going to get shot down by the Sniper, body blocking it. MSS going to be able to secure this kill for the team, although he eats an LSA. Or not an LSA, excuse me, the Magic Missile. It's not going to be enough to buy them that space. MSS going very aggressively, tanky tier 2 tower shot, and now maybe in a little bit of trouble. DDX does not have anything skilled, decides not to go for Blink. MSS going to survive to live another day as he places a ward to block the pull camp.
Yeah, you usually don't want to take a bath in the tier 2s before the creep spawn. Generally not a good idea, but it's first blood for North American rejects, and somehow it is Ush on the Sniper to draw that kill. So he is going to have, actually looks like more tangos delivered out to him, so his laning phase going to be a lot easier. And let's see how these bounty runes are going to pan out. I love the GLHF after the first blood. It's classic, but it's also, in addition to that first blood, they grab both bounty runes. This start for North American rejects pretty much doesn't get any better.
No, I usually don't look at the net worth chart before the game, but they're starting out with a 600 gold advantage over Isurus, which is huge. For this early laning stage, your items mean so much, especially on the Sniper. This is going to propel us towards whatever he wants to be building. For now, he's just going to send out a thing of tangos for himself. That's going to make this laning stage a lot more bearable up against the Queen of Pain. Still nothing leveled up by DDX, but still Ush is going to have an alright time. However, MSS might not. He's going to get Magic Missile. He has a Burrow Strike, however, and that should buy him plenty of space. Although this is going to force out all of his regen, and MSS even decides to buy another set of tangos for himself as well.
Yeah, the offlane Sand King isn't really going to have the most fun up on this top lane, but fullback, he doesn't have any clarities, so he has one more Magic Missile, and then what you see is pretty much what you get. The amount of pressure that Isurus can apply to the Sand King, though high, isn't exactly going to be lethal pressure, and Sand King is going to feel comfortable enough to get a little bit of experience on this top lane, hell, maybe even a couple of CS, and it looks like there are sentries on the Chen, so right now, they can't really do anything should the Sand King just start sandstorming in the middle of the lane, but eventually the Chen will come, and for Chen, having a Centaur and or a Troll is going to be of the utmost importance when they're going to go for a kill onto MSS, and hell, even Ush in the mid lane. It's going to be pretty easy, or pretty feasible, let's say, for Nadera to just wrap around under cover of smoke or something like that, and then get a kill on the mid lane Sniper.
Even though the Sand King's having a pretty bad time, it's not as bad as Dulce on the Spirit Breaker. Even though he's pretty tanky, There's a lot of range harass coming out from this lane. It's against a Lina Disruptor and a Lion if he chooses to show his face. LSA is going to be on the mark, although Dulce is in no threat of dying here. He's still going to take a lot of damage. They are going to glimpse him back. The Lion's still not there. He's going to point-blank charge into Korok. Another LSA is not going to be thrown out with the Dragon Slave. One more auto attack. They might be able to get this kill. Lina dies to creeps, however. And in the end, that's all right for the Spirit Breaker, I want to say, although he would have really liked that solo experience.
Yeah, he didn't get much from that. It was the Lina to get the gold, and you could see EXP change for Spirit Breaker. Absolutely none. So sad times for the Spirit Breaker, but he makes good out of a bad situation. Like, when you're under that much pressure, when a Lina has enough time to land 2 LSAs in the midst of a skirmish, you're most likely going to die, even though you may be super tanky. That magical damage is hard to resist from Dulce's Spirit Breaker. He is level 2, however, and he's chasing down Fogged. If he gets a lucky bash, he might get this kill. He's going to get the bash, but it seems like that didn't quite register. Bleak is going to arrive, and that will drive away the cow. But that is the threat that Dulce has. And level 2 right now, even though he is technically a core hero, being only level 2, for all intents and purposes, a support Spirit Breaker, which is more or less standard. At least Nadera on the Chen is farming up pretty decently in the jungle.
Yeah, let's see what he's going to end up going for on this Chen. He hasn't bought any items for the time being and doesn't have a smoke or isn't ready for rotations yet, so he's just going to continue farming up. The game state is pretty passive, a couple of isolated kills here and there, but after that first blood, I'd expect it to only be these offlaners related to die. Although mid lane is going to be trading, DDX can blink away pretty freely out from anything the sniper is bringing to the table, and as soon as his bottle has crowed back to himself, he should be fine. Lines are drawn on the map by the Sand King over through the woods, although it doesn't look like Nadera is pretty interested in going for that Sand King kill.
Yeah, Dulce was also hanging around the mid lane. Should a charge land on Ush, he could only pop shrapnel and then try to run away. And well, DDX is level 4. This Queen of Pain, not exactly with the highest damage output, at least as far as Queen of Pains are concerned, but will definitely have enough to clean up should a charge land. We still don't see Nadera actually kicking into action just yet. He shipped up his sentries to the Vengeful Spirit, and MSS might be a target right now. However, this Observer Ward that he placed after taking a bath in that tier 2 is going to let him know that this is a troubling situation, that he is going to have to get the hell out of here unless he's going to get charged. Now Sandstorm is a dead skill. Fullback is going to close in. Magic Missile is still going to be dodged. Even okay, well, that's how that works apparently. Sand King is going to get himself out of there.
Even though you can see where the Sand King is, it technically doesn't give you vision. It's kind of like a Slark with his Shadow Dance on.
Right, so good to know, I suppose. MSS is going to dodge the Magic Missile and therefore dodge death. This is something that Dulce kind of has to do. He has to go around the map and look for these kills because bottom lane is just so inhospitable. He's going to try to go for Ush this time, but Fogged is here. 2 TPs are here as well, and Dulce all of a sudden is in way over his head. Ush is actually going to decide to go for DDX. It looks like an LSA landed and DDX will be going down. Dulce going to walk back in. No, actually got glimpsed. Wait, did he get glimpsed? Yes, he did get glimpsed. So that's 2 kills for the North American Reject side. They do have to spend 2 TPs, but oh so worth it. And also Ush gets to live, gets one of those kills to boot.
Yeah, it takes quite a bit to make a rotation in from your safe lane farmer worth it, but that is what you need. A kill on the enemy mid and another kill to boot. It's not going to give Lina directly that much gold, but it's going to give the team a lot. In particular, the sniper, who now has full PTs and a Ring of Achilles. He's going to put a lot of damage into fullback, and in fact, this might be a kill. The Assassinate by itself is not enough. He was tangling up through all of that. Needed just a little bit more. They aren't able to get in range for a glimpse. In fact, it was on cooldown. Excuse me.
That's just a momentary slip up in positioning, though. It is level 4 Venge versus level 6 Sniper, so level advantage going the way of Ush, helping him out in that regard just a little bit, but he just laid into that Vengeful Spirit, and there's nothing that she could do. She can't turn around for a Magic Missile. Then the Shrapnel will kill her, and by the time the stun wears off, Sniper will be then ready to kill off the rest of the Venge's health pool. So this Sniper, with Power Treads and Aquila only, is dishing some pretty serious damage. Not to mention, Korok still farming up on the bottom lane, is almost at his level 6 mark. I don't know if he's going to be able to use it on the Spirit Breaker effectively. Just having so much HP makes going for that kill a little bit of a scary proposition for the North American Rejects, but should they rotate the Lina anywhere, like the mid lane like they just have, then that Laguna Blade is going to get some serious action.
The good news for Isurus is the Phantom Lancer is left completely alone up towards the top lane, or effectively alone. The Sand King can't put any substantial pressure onto the PL, although he can Sandstorm down the waves and force the Phantom Lancer to farm under his tower. He's more than happy to do so. With the Quelling Blade and his raw base damage, he's able to do so pretty effectively. Pepita has opted for an early Morbid Masking, can rotate into the jungle whenever he'd like to, but the Sandstorm Harass isn't going to stick very long onto Pepita.
Well, they try to go for a kill onto Dulce down towards bottom lane. No LSA no Laguna Blade rather, just yet on the Spirit Breaker. They do fall a little bit short, but Spirit Breaker, he got level 4 from that. Not sure if that's worth putting himself in that much trouble. We do also have a smoke gank simultaneously on the way from top river. Fullback and Nadara with 2 centaurs as well. If a magic missile lands, I'm tempted to say Ush is just dead. I don't know if the TPs can save him this time. They're going to wait for their Spirit Breaker though. This is level 2 charge. Pretty fast, but it will give Ush a lot of time to back off. Let's see how confident Ush feels. If he sees the Spirit Breaker coming in, he will be forced to fall back, and he will do it immediately. Fullback needs to get this magic missile off. Charge is going to connect, but 2 TPs are also incoming. Ush going to get hit with 1 bash. No magic missile just yet. It is going to come out, but MSS has arrived with a 3-man burrow strike, 2-man LSA to kick things off as well. The assassination is almost for sure going to kill DDX, and it will also be enough to kill off Fullback. Now Nadara and Dulce just have to run away. Shrapnel is on the deck everywhere. Nadara's going to die. Most of his centaurs are died as well, as Dulce gets blindsided by Bleak off on the right side. That's going to be a double for Ush and a bloodbath in favor of the North American rejects. The Disruptor is the only one to die, and those TPs, once again, saving the sniper. Although I do think it was the Spirit Breaker that really did it for Isurus. If they just went for it, they probably could have killed off Ush, but the Spirit Breaker was spotted by the Observer Ward, and that let Ush know that something was up.
Yeah, and at that moment, they got clumped up right on top of the sniper and set up for a 3-man Light Strike array. Anytime in the game, it's really rare to see that spell hit so many heroes, but it worked beautifully for North American rejects. Actually, it was the Burst Strike that hit 3 and then the LSA to follow up, but regardless, it was still a really nice fight for them. That's going to propel your Sand King to level 7, almost level 8 now, and he's going to be very close to getting his Blink Dagger online. The Phantom Lancer is still farming away, and that's all fine and good for Isurus, but there's not an immediate item that's going to activate Phantom Lancer. He's a pretty linear hero when it comes to progression. Diffusal Blade maybe a little bit of a bump there in his power progression, but still, it's nothing compared to a Blink Dagger on an SK.
And that's very quickly incoming. Level 4 Sandstorm as your Sand King, and well, he's going to be clearing out the jungle extremely quickly and pretty much putting himself in no danger in the process. They tried to go for the bottom lane kill on Bleak, but a 2-man impale, and Lion is going to keep himself alive. So far, the value that North American rejects have been getting from their skills have been insane. Like, several people hit by just 1 LSA. Same thing for the Burrow Strike and the Spike now, and if they can continue to get that value, then Isurus don't stand a chance. It really is, at a certain point, up to Isurus to make sure that their positioning isn't such that they get hit by those skills, or if more than one person gets hit by those skills, but so far it's just not been the case. Fogg is going to get charged up on top. He has a glimpse, isn't quite able to turn around and get it off. Bash is going to have to hit him to get this kill, but Dulce, he's going to get glimpsed back into a field, and now Chad is here with a couple more right clicks. Dulce bit off way more than he could chew. It's a level 5 Disruptor versus now a level 6 Disruptor. I guess it was a 5 versus 5 when things started out, but deciding to dive a tower alone, I don't really know what the plan was there, but it wasn't a good one.
Yeah, I think one of the biggest issues for Isurus right now is that their supports really aren't accomplishing much of anything. Gnar, they've been holding TPs on their supports pretty much non-stop, have had good reactions against the enemy team's rotations, whereas Isurus, they're not farming particularly well on Nadira. He's died twice, and really hasn't made anything happen with his ganks. In fact, he's 0-2-0. And similar for the Venge. Again, that failed gank on the sniper was really detrimental to the team, all things considered. DDX gonna jump into Fog, but gets silenced and glimpsed back. There's not really much he can do at that point. Fog is going to be able to walk away from that one, and Queen of Pain, although she doesn't get punished for it, that was a much needed kill for her. In the meantime, Sniper gets the tower destruction down towards bottom lane. Spirit Breaker cannot counter push this.
You might think about going for this Lina if he's at all the same ballsy Spirit Breaker that we just saw dive the Disruptor. He's going to decide that Lina is perhaps a little bit too dangerous for his liking, but still it's a tower destroyed for Gnar without really committing much of anything. They also have MSS now wielding that Blink Dagger, and I think he's going to look for some blood as he is smoked up. Yeah, Korok is also smoked up, and they're going to head towards mid lane. DDX is the target that Gnar want to take down right now, as Phantom Lancer just simply too far away up on top, but should a Burrow Strike land, DDX is most likely just going to get spiked and hexed afterwards, if not just Finger of Death. So he's going to hide in the trees, maybe blow the smoke, but Korok and MSS in the perfect position right now. They will not get a jump on GDX. They might get a jump onto 2, however, if Isurus think that they could defend this. They don't know that these 2 additional heroes are here. And GDX, there's the Blink Burrow Strike. LSA a little bit slow to income, and GDX will blink away from it, but the Laguna Blade, it's still going to be lethal. He's closing in with the movement speed. Not quite going to be lethal, actually. GDX has to live, turns around for the Sonic Wave, and it's going to be Korok to fall. They're going to chase forward for a little bit more. MSS is on the run with a Blink Dagger Burrow Strike level 4. He should be just fine. Tower going to be destroyed as he gonna blink in, actually, and spiked up. Nudera on a roller coaster, and that's a roller coaster you don't want to be on. Sniper's gonna get a kill, plus that tower destruction. Not the cleanest for the North American rejects, but it does work out in their favor at the end of it.
They do lose their safe lane farming Lina, going for a very deep dive, but they still take away map control away from Isurus, which is alright, I suppose. Queen of Pain getting some serious magic wand value there. With just a handful less charges, that could have gone very south for DDX, surviving on about 40 HP after that Laguna Blade. Up towards top, Chad, MSS, and Fogged are going to be sitting in wait. If the PO comes out to lane, could be in a lot of trouble, but I don't expect that to be the case. It looks like Gnar are just going to switch this pressure up towards the top tier 1 push, starting to constrict Isurus' map rotations already.
MSS, no, okay, now he does have enough mana for the bottle. Yeah, Isurus, also, if you look at the Queen of Pain's item build, like, she is going as tanky as you can realistically go as a Queen of Pain. It is a BKB in the works for her, almost for sure, with that Ogre Club, so she is a deceptively tanky hero. She may look like she's at half HP, but that half is going to be a little bit more than it usually is. Pepita, he's going to try to D-ward. Burrow Strike is there. Chad going to close in. He has a Finger of Death, but he's not even needed. Actually, maybe he needed to use it. Swap out from fullback, but they use the Laguna instead. That'll kill off both the Venge and the Phantom Lancer, and look at that. The tower is also ripe for the taking. They'll bring that down also. Wait, Nudera is going to get jumped by the Burrow Strike and the Assassinate. That's going to be another casualty for Isurus. They're just not sticking together, and North American rejects, with their mobility, with their high-range skills, are picking off Isurus, and Isurus are in situations where they actually just can't do anything in response.
No, things are falling off the rails very quickly for Isurus. Their Chen at this point isn't really contributing anything meaningful to the fights except for Hand of God, and even that isn't enough to survive through the burst damage of Gnar, which is incredibly huge. With both the Finger of Death and the Laguna Blade, if they wanted to, they could probably just end up deleting a hero from the game if both of them use their ultimates simultaneously. They're going to assassinate, blink, Burrow Strike, and now with a long-range Dragon Slave, Lina will kill off fullback. Vengeful Spirit, all she wanted to do was ward. She wanted to be there for a little bit of defensive capability, maybe protect that tower, but she was spotted out the whole time. Easy kill for Gnar.
Isurus are also pushing the bottom lane at the same time. They're going to look for this tower destruction. Dulce actually going to charge through the tower. Here comes DDX as well. Sonic Wave and Nether Strike, wasting no time getting the kill and therefore getting the tower. Certainly worth it for Isurus to be making that play, but it's still a 2-for-1 tower trade in favor of the North American reject side. Nudera also wandering over in mid. There's a quick Lina incoming, although it seems like Korok is going to guess the wrong way. Chen is going to live, but still Isurus, they get a tower, but they end up losing 2. And North American rejects, with this Blink Dagger still available on the Sand King with just enough mana for a Burrow Strike, might be looking to continue on with this aggressive play. Again, their late game power is 100% in the hands of Sniper, so it's about this time where they have to be making plays, and, well, they're going to do just that.
Yeah, at this point, I'm not sure if we can really call the late game in Isurus' favor, as it's going to be really hard for them to actually access Phantom Lancer's late game. There's not a real safe place for him to farm on this map. He's currently farming inside the enemy woods. That's where he feels safest, and honestly, I don't blame him with the amount of mobility that all of the North American Rejects team have.
North American Rejects are going to assemble their troops over in the middle lane. Not the most mana on Ush. Sand King did get a full mana tank by returning to the base. He also has that Soul Ring ready to go, but it's just a slow sniper push for mids. And for Isurus, they know that if they go for the sniper, they're going for the entirety of North American Rejects, and they're going to be hesitant to make this call. Ward is going to protect them from any wraparound. They're going to see MSS coming. They have a Centaur in position, fullback as well, but suddenly fullback is the one in trouble. Actually, no, they blink right past the Venge. Don't move, Venge. Don't breathe. Actually, yeah, you should probably just leave right now. Fullback's so close to death, and North American Rejects don't even realize it.
Yeah, Vengeful Spirit, that's a close skate with death, but she'll make it out alive, and they're getting a little bit of farm on the Phantom Lancer in the meantime. He's taken out a couple of stacks of jungle creeps inside the enemy woods, is now up to about 1,000 gold on top of his Borbomasic Keela and Yasha. Pepita's still doing a decent amount of damage at this point in the game, but it's not enough to defend these towers. Choo-Choo Tower in mid going to be chipped away at and taken by Gnar. They should get the last hit for Sniper, and Ash is going to get that extra infusion of gold as he finishes up his S and Y on top of his Maelstrom.
Man, that's like the third tower that Ush has himself destroyed, like actually gotten the last hit, so a lot of additional cash for that Sniper. SY Maelstrom, it's all up for him, and they have a smoke right away afterwards. They have a Force Staff into Eul Scepter for the Lina, and there's 2 very soft targets in the mid lane. Spike going to connect onto fullback, and with the Finger of Death LSA, that'll be 1 kill. Can they catch up to the Chen? That seems very unlikely, unless Fogged somehow miraculously gets Vision, which also isn't going to happen. No, it's just going to be 1 clean kill on the Vengeful Spirit. As you said, Isurus, they're still farming up a lot of time in the enemy jungle, but the BKB isn't even up on the Queen of Pain yet. The Phantom Lancer, though he is doing quite a bit of damage, should he have time to create an illusion army, doesn't really have the sustain to, first of all, sustain the main hero, and second of all, sustain his illusions. So, like, what are they actually farming to? They need a lot more time than what they're getting, and especially if Ush and Bleak come in, they see DDX, they see Dulce, but of course, Dulce and DDX see the line, and they will just book it out of there. Actually, well, yeah, okay, Queen of Pain also blinks out of there just in time, or TP's out of there, rather, just in time, but Gnar, they're going to go for the last objective, tier 2. Isurus haven't been defending their other ones, so chances are they're not going to defend this one either.
DDX does have the Black King bar up and running, so maybe, just maybe, Isurus can start turning some fights. It's going to be a long and hard road, however. They just need more time before Papita can really get online with this Phantom Lancer. What's his next item, however, this game? He's sitting on 2,000 gold. What's going to be the most efficient way to fight?
Probably the Diffusal Blade, although you kind of want to get some sort of health item. The only real health item that's, well, the item that you want to get as Phantom Lancer is that heart. Obviously, that's a little bit of an expenditure of cash, but Diffusal Blade is the most cost-effective item if he wants to go for damage, and he might have to go for damage because the rest of his team, they're going to start a fight without him. Swap back onto Ush. Static Storm is there, though, to prevent the Magic Missile. Dragon Slave through. Nudera is going to get assassinated, spiked. LSA. Assassination not even going to land. Fullback also glimpsed back, and he's going to be brought down. I don't really know why Isurus went in there without their Spirit Breaker and their Phantom Lancer. There's no way a 2-3-5 is going to work right now, guys. It's just not going to happen.
No, Chen has literally nothing but a set of brown boots and a handful of branches. He's sitting on 1,400 gold, which is respectable, but he's really far off, or what feels like really far off, from actually having a mechanism. And even if he finishes it, I'm not sure it's going to be enough. At this point, Isurus cannot take anything less than a full 5-on-5, or not a full 5-on-5, but they can't fight without their full 5 lineup. Excuse me. Fogged up top, going to be charged, and with the Queen of Pain coming in from the south, they'll be able to get this kill pretty easily. I think I've seen that before. Sniper going to TP in, starting shooting away at DDX. There is a blink. He won't be able to disjoint that assassination. He's forced to pop the BKB, but it was a little too late anyway. Hand of God is going to save him. You'll Scepter over to Avenge, and the sidelines will set up nicely for an LSA, and they'll be able to Dragon Slave her and bring her down, or will they? She's getting set back. No. One more auto attack, and now Chen is in a whole heap of trouble. Earth spiked up, Light Striker raid down, and that's a double kill for Kurak.
Dulce is going to come right in, going to get a Lucky Bash onto Bleak, although there's still Burrow Strike mana. DDX is going to come in, clean up the line, and MSS and Korok both are now on the run. It looks like they should be fine. Dulce coming in and getting something for his team as well with DDX, but Vengeful Spirit and Chen, we expected them to be partnered up together and running around when it was like 2-3 minutes in the game. I think now is about the time when you want to stop doing that, because the Venge and Chen can't really do anything when they're just running around by themselves. It's way too late for that, especially when Gnar are running around as a 3, 4, 5-man group. Like, the Venge and Chen are just constantly walking into their death. 6 deaths, actually the exact same score on both of them. That is actually pretty synchronized dieting right there.
Yeah, 0-6-1. It's not a great score either. The biggest issue for Isurus there is that they also lost their Phantom Lancer inside the woods to start that off, and at this point, Phantom Lancer is the one that they cannot afford to die. He did buy out a handful of Blades of Alacrity, so he is going to go for that Diff Blade. But honestly, Isurus, they really just need to be so very careful. Spirit Breaker has a Shadow Blade, but I don't think this is the item to get them back into the game. It's kind of nice to roam around, but solo, who can he actually kill? Even Fogged is pretty hard, and they have Detection. Gem on Fogged, he's going to get Light Striker, Raid Laguna to the face, and then brought down. Wicked sick for Korok as they chase for a little bit more. Chad's going to look for an Earth Spike, can't find it on a fullback. He'll be able to make it out with an Invis Rune. Disruptor a little too far back.
He spent literally the entire game farming up for this item, and the first time he gets to use it, he gets hit with a gem. So, bad times for this Spirit Breaker. I think Isurus should have known that there was a gem already picked up on Gnar. Correct me if I'm wrong, but I don't know if Gnar have been working with that or if that's a fresh one. Either way, Spirit Breaker, it's nice to have a Spirit Breaker with that Shadow Blade. You could choose your fights a lot more carefully. You charge in, you invis up, and then the enemies get stunned by random things, and you force them to use detection. Maybe you get alive, maybe you start a fight, but that's definitely not the way you want to use it. Now Gnar, they're just going to go right into the Roshan pit. Pushing up high ground is definitely going to be the hardest part of Gnar's game plan. I think if they're going to be doing that, they have to take a team fight to take a one-team fight with Isurus outside of Isurus' base. This might be how they're going to do it, though. Dulce going to charge forward for Bleak. DTX is going to arrive as well. Once again, the ulti combos from these two heroes going to get themselves a kill. MSS also caught in the wrong side of the map. He's going to burst strike down to the low ground, rejoin up with Ush and Korok, but Isurus now find themselves at a 5v4. However, they don't have a Sonic Wave, so it's almost as if it's not relevant. DDX is going to jump right in with the BKB, looking to steal the Aegis. He is going to grab it, charge coming in as well. They're going to focus on Ush with Pita arriving to the fight finally, and Ush is going to be brought down at the same time as Korok to fall, with 3 Centaurs swarming that Lina. She has no chance. Now they're going to chase forward for Fogged. That glimpse is going to keep him safe. Blink in from MSS, going to take out the Aegis of the Queen of Pain, but still that should have been Nars. Now MSS is on the run. Looks like he will be able to get out of there. Lots of movement speed, lots of mobility on this Sand King, but that is a definitive victory for Isurus, and that is going to be what they need to do if they want to come back into this game.
Not only did he get the Aegis, he also got the Roshan destruction, or kill rather. That's a huge victory for Isurus, even though they lose their Venge on the retreat. At this point, losing a Venge is hardly anything at all. That's going to finish your Aghanim Scepter for the Queen of Pain, and now the Sonic Wave should be up for the majority of the fights every time they're looking to take a large-scale engagement. DDX, although it was a risky play to make, he makes it work. 5, 2, and 3, the Queen of Pain is now primed to contribute quite a bit, and these low HP pools on the supports, especially on the side of Gnar, now going to get punished a little bit. Right now, everybody but the Sniper is sitting at about 1,000 HP, and even the Sniper himself is only at about 1,400. That extra 600 pure damage or so is going to be a huge asset for them once they get level 16, which is only about halfway away for DDX.
That fight also displayed the effectiveness of BKBs up against the Gnar lineup. We said it in the draft that most, if not all of their damage is going to be magical. Even the Sniper going for a magical damage item in that Maelstrom. So Queen of Pain was able to walk in, didn't have anything to fear. Like, nothing goes through that right now. MSS is going to run to full back, Assassination being prepped, and Vengeful Spirit looking to lose her life. Sandstorm is not going to do it. It's Disruptor's Thunderstrike that gets the kill, but the kill on the Venge, again, not really going to bother Isurus too much. However, a death of Pepita, now that's bad. They end up using the wrong target, although it looks like the real one for some reason. Korok is now swarmed in Lancers. Chad is here with the spike, and it's all going to miss, actually, including the secondary spike from MSS. Centaur Stomp going to let Pepita disengage, and here comes Dulce. Looks like he's going to decide better about going for that one, but Gnar, they actually have to break high ground pretty soon or take a massive team fight right now. If they let this Phantom Lancer get more farm, I mean, he's already packing the Yasha and Diffusal Blade. He's doing a hell of a lot of damage, as we just saw, and he's the Isurus comeback mechanic.
After that fight, Isurus have now pared down what once was a 12,000 net worth advantage for Gnar into about a 6,000 gold advantage. And even though they're still on the back foot, Isurus are in a position to fight, and even more importantly, experience is all but zeroed out. A lot of that is in the pockets of the Queen of Pain and Phantom Lancer, but that's exactly where they want it to be. At this point, Venge and Chen are completely there for their defensive capabilities, and that's it. Even if Chen didn't have these creeps, although there have been a couple clutch saves with some Centaur hoof stomps, Hand of God and Mech is pretty much what he's there for, and Vengeful Spirit is mostly there for the swap. In fact, there's no points yet in Vengeance Aura, which I would say is the second most important part that fullback can play in these fights.
Well, they're going to run into DDX, at least Fogged and MSS will. They're going to hold on to the Static Storm, knowing the Queen of Pain has BKB. Instead, they're going to jump in a little bit further and go for this Lina kill. DDX is going to BKB straight away, and Dulce really doesn't have that luxury. He's going to try to get into the trees, but there's an Epicenter waiting for him, plus an almost perfect Chain Stun. Dulce doesn't even have enough mana to get out of there, and it will be an even 1-1 trade, but Isurus, they use all their combos to burst down the Lina, and oh no, Dara, there's a double damage Ush right around the corner. Mech, Hand of God, not enough. Nowhere close to enough. My god, Sniper with DD is no joke. DDX is actually going to blink in and give chase. You don't want to be fighting the Sniper. That's not what you want to do if you're anyone on Isurus, because Sniper will turn around and kick your ass, especially with Fogged and Chad coming in. But it's just a 2-for-1 right now, and although it's a nice kill for Isurus, they have to use BKB charges to actually accomplish that. BKB charge already down to 7 seconds, and once it dwells down to 5, then the magic damage on Gnar is going to once again flow into this Queen of Pain.
For sure. Let's see if they're going to be able to fulfill that. For the time being, RV are still, RV2 rather, are still controlling the map decently well. They have good ward vision out that's keeping tabs on the majority of Isurus' movements, with the exception being any movements through their jungle. It looks like that was since it dewarded. They need to keep this up, however. Their last setups of obs are starting to wear thin. At this point, Gnar need to be a little bit cautious about this game. Their Sniper is still pretty big, but he's not that big to where he can completely take on the enemy team once the BKB wears down on the Queen of Pain to 5 seconds. Maybe that can be the case, but still something to be concerned about. Their scaling damage isn't there.
I think the bottom line is that Isurus are still in this game and quite in a large way as well. They're going to roam around right now, Gnar, as a 3-man squad. However, they were all spotted by an OBS, and it looks like they will not be finding anything right now. How do Gnar actually break the base of Isurus right now? Because they're going to have to fight into the Phantom Lancer, who now has the Manta Style completed, and now can actually start saving gold into that Heart of Tarrasque that I mentioned earlier. Or, at the very least, just grab a Vit Booster and get some sort of health pool up, because if he's able to stay alive, then that's just going to truck all of Gnar. They do have quite a bit of AoE in order to deal with his illusions, but still, keeping this Phantom Lancer alive is the primary objective for Isurus, and Pepita is right now holding Isurus' hopes in his hands, but Gnar, they're still pushing, still getting farm, but their farm is not as effective as the Lancer's farm. I have Scotty up on the Sniper, it's all well and good, but I don't really know how much that's actually going to help them push up this high ground.
Yeah, that really is the question. When will they get to a point that they can take high ground off of Isurus? It's going to have to be off of the back of a couple of good fights, and probably they have to wait until the next Aegis. I think that's going to be the tipping point. If Gnar are able to get the next Roshan and get a double life on their Sniper, probably, and take a tier 3 tower, maybe take a ranged barracks after the fact, then they can still be comfortable in this game. But if that fight goes poorly, like the previous Roshan fight, that's where things get really sketchy, and where Isurus might have the chance to completely come back into this game. Couple big items coming out with an Aghanim Scepter on Lina and a BKB on the Spirit Breaker.
And it's also kind of a testament to how important that steal was from DDX previously. Like, that, it not only got him the Aegis and denied it to Gnar, but it also denied Gnar any possibility of actually going for a game-ending push. And now it's just up to this RNG Roshan timer. If Isurus are lucky, it's max length. If Gnar are lucky, it's minimum duration. But still, Roshan is by no means guaranteed for the Gnar side, since it's really only Sniper who can actually significantly contribute to a Roshan kill. Like, Lina's doing some okay base damage, but she's not exactly a right-clicking powerhouse, especially if she dies right now. Here comes this charge. Korok knows something is coming, and he will back off. Isurus still smoked up, however, and that was also an invisible Spirit Breaker, so, well, either way, Korok is going to survive right now, but it's just a waiting game right now, and let's see how lucky these teams are going to be. It does come down to the RNG of the Roche timer.
Yeah, we'll see that very shortly when Roche is going to respawn. For the time being, Gnar are going to keep up the pressure. They push through bottom lane, but them actually committing to a full-on high ground push at this moment is moot. Shadow-bladed Spirit Breaker going to pop his BKB, goes strong into Ush, but a Blinking Burrow Strike onto the backlines is going to disjoint that as they go for fullback instead. Laguna Blade going to bring her down. Spirit Breaker trying to run away is going to not be able to make it out as Sniper shoots him down with the Eye of Scotty, so even through BKB, that's going to be 2 heroes down, and now at this moment, Gnar might be able to make a high ground push happen. Blinket Burrow Strike, they catch out DDX. Eul Scepter is going to probably delay this more than anything, is going to give him a chance to get his BKB off, potentially a little bit of misplay. Korok is currently on the run, slowed up by the Queen of Pain, dropping pretty low. Will they be able to kill him off? However, Static Storm's on the ground, but hardly bothers Isurus. Pepita's now joining the fray, going to throw one lance. Micros it over to Lina, dropping low to about a 60 HP, but will be earned up by the team. Isurus have held high ground for the time being, although Gnar have not had the end of it. They'll drop the tier 3 tower to about half, and now we're going to jump into Pepita. Burrow struck up, drop down to half HP as well. Is going to doppelgang out, but now a glimpse. Assassinate, the damage is going to be there, or will it? He Manta dodges, but one shot from the Sniper is all that it takes in order to get that kill. Fullback stunned up, once is going to end up losing her life. This is big for Na'Vi. The tier 3 tower is dropping low, but can they actually make it happen? Spirit Breaker's in this again, charging forward for Ush, inside Invis, buyback for the PL. Can they kill off Ush? They need to. Double Burrow Strike coming out from MSS. It's going to buy them a lot of space. Or Spike going to miss. His Chad is almost completely tapped out of mana. He's been slowed down. One Spirit Lance and a little bit more damage is all that they need. They chase forward for MSS. The Nether Strike is going to be disjointed by Eul Scepter. He's going to Burrow Strike through Pepita and blink out, but now charged through by the Spirit Breaker. I don't think there's any way he can make it out alive. He's going to get charged up, and now the Nether Strike is there. He's going to be smacked down. It costs them a buyback on their PL, but Isurus hold high ground. Don't even lose a tier 3.
And it was only a buyback on that PL. That was like the full power of Isurus' team fight right there. Of course, Gnar, they were going in pretty deep. They also had to split their focus between the tier 3 tower, so far from an ideal fight for the Gnar side. Oh no, they're going to run into Ush is going to run into 2. He's going to turn around and kill off Nadera. Dulce needs to get some lucky bashes, but Nadera's going to go down. Ush going to man fight even more versus Dulce, trying to get that kill, won't quite find it. Chen is actually killed by Mud Golems. Man, no one likes Mud Golems. because they do stuff like that, but it's a free kill on the sniper as well. And Isurus hold their base. That was even after a, let's say, questionable initiation with just the Venge and the Spirit Breaker to start things off. They had time to respawn, though, and it only costed them a Queen of Pain BKB charge in order to set that eventual fight up and allow Pepita to actually arrive to that fight. And man, what damage he did. It was, you know, pretty methodical, really, for Isurus. They just had to make sure to not overextend, and they didn't. So Gnar there held off for maybe the first time of many, maybe just the last time. But the Roshan, it is going to be a very, very long Roshan respawn timer. So Isurus winning a nice fight and also get a lucky roll on the Rosh respawn. Game's not over yet, guys, even though the 10k lead on Gnar is still looking pretty dangerous. The EXP is once again dropping closer and closer to that 0 mark.
Yeah, the biggest difference is that Isurus are getting farm on the heroes that matter, even though it's really wonderful to have a Blink Dagger on some of these auxiliary heroes on the side of Isurus, like a Blinker Force on Venge or something else other than the mechanism on the Chen. It's more important to have these BKBs completed, and it looks like that's what Pepita's next item is going to be, is 2,000 gold on top of an Ogre Club, so he will have that shortly.
Oh, Dulce, he's going to charge in for Korok. He does not even connect with it, and he has to pop his BKB to teleport out of there. That was a very long duration of BKB that Dulce, in this game more than most, just cannot afford to expend. It's a very small opening for Gnar to make some sort of play, knowing that the BKB on Spirit Breaker is currently down. So a minute until that's back up. Is it going to be enough? Even if they do, you know, decently here, they have to take this tier 3 first, and I really don't know if Gnar have enough damage to take both the tier 3 and the Raxes and take a one team fight afterwards. Maybe if they get one more pick off, they will, but looks like the Venge, awkwardly hiding in the trees, is going to escape death right now. But Isurus, they're going to have another Rosh fight on their hands. Ush is going to jump right in there and start working on that Aegis, but it is now scouted out by the Venge, so this might be what decides the game for Gnar.
Yeah, or for Isurus, I think this is a really crucial fight for either side. Roshan's going to drop to about half health, and Isurus are not close enough immediately, but now that they're smoked and incoming, this could completely ignite on either side. MSS is going to get bumped into with the sentry on the ground. The magic missile is not going to be destroyed. They focus down the Sand King before they get into this Roche pit, but the Roshan's already down. Ush has a second life, is on the sidelines. Queen of Pain's going to jump to the backlines, gets a nice sonic wave, but Sniper's ripped apart. A handful of their supports. The Spirit Breaker and Venge hit the deck. It looks like Ush is going to end up losing his Aegis as another scream for DDX is going to connect with BKB's pop. There's not much that Gnar can do. Now Sniper's coming back for the second time around. He's going to start shooting into Nidera. Nidera is going to lose his life, but it's at the cost of Sniper's own. Lina going to be over in the sidelines, but she gets nether struck up and now smacked down by Pepita. A double kill for the Phantom Lancer. The only survivors for the time being are Disruptor and Lion. Lion TP's back to base, and Disruptor is going to make it out alive, it seems. Spirit Breaker a little too slow even with that Shadow Blade, but still, Isurus take a favorable fight even though they don't get the Aegis.
It cost them a buyback on the Spirit Breaker. At this point, that's definitely cost enough, or definitely well warranted for the Spirit Breaker to expend that cost if it means taking that great a team fight. Again, the problem for Gnar, a big problem, is that they don't really have any frontline, and we saw that problem right there. They had a really nice Static Storm on 2, used that to assassinate one target immediately, but even the Sniper having that double life, he was far from vulnerable because Isurus had a free path into that Sniper with the Phantom Lancer. Once you're surrounded a Sniper, even though he may have a Mjolnir, even though he may be static charged up, there's not much that you could do because you're simply outmatched as far as the damage output is concerned. So Gnar, they have to have perfect positioning. They have to have someone to tank hits, or they have to have a better Static Storm kinetic field than that. But it's hard to ask better from Fog. Like, a 2-man Static Storm kinetic field, that's fantastic already. And realistically, that's going to be what happens most of the time. But they need better than that because they need to protect this Sniper. Sniper was initiated upon, or, you know, in a bad position, close enough to the front lines, and the fact that he died twice was absolutely backbreaking there for Gnar. Their hopes at pushing high ground just slipped away a little bit further, and even further now that the Phantom Lancer has his BKB up.
And on top of that, BKB has 3,000 gold, so if Pepita wants to go for something along the lines of an Eye of Scotty, or really any big ticket item for Phantom Lancer would be wonderful. It's going to be really hard for them to deal with him. His HP pool at the moment is enough to where he can survive through most of the damage that Gnar bring to the table, although a level 3 Aghanims ulti from the Lina is going to help. Smoked up, Gnar going to look for a couple of pickoffs, but it doesn't look like they'll find it. Isurus are currently on their high ground, and what Gnar started out as a smoke that looked for picks is probably going to end up into either a straight push or them just backing off and farming the enemy woods. Looks like it's going to be the latter.
Yeah, they were smoked up looking for someone, but Phantom Lancer was the one that they ran into, and he was already going to be sent home by the Chen, so that's pretty much ideal. If you could do that every single time, you're going to be ecstatic if you're a Chen, but yeah, they dodge death right now, and they really just dodge another team fight. They want to stall this game out. That's the name of the game for Isurus. Just stall, 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 and get Pepita up to that 6-slotted status. He's all the way up to 3,300, even after having purchased that BKB, so he's going to look towards, as you said, Eye of Scotty or Heart, I would probably bet, but either one he decides to get. Bottom line, he's going to have a lot more HP, and it just doesn't seem like Gnar have enough to kill off this Phantom Lancer unless they land literally their entire damage combo onto this PL, but MSS, I mean, he's up on top lane. I don't know if this damage combo is going to come together if the Sand King dies. He's going to blink into the trees and straight TP out of there, so he will get out of there safe and sound, but man, he has to be very careful. There's a sheep stick on the Queen of Pain, and for Gnar, they have no magic immunity. Yeah, they have Yule Scepters, but that's not going to help you.
No, definitely not. It's probably just going to delay the inevitable. Usha is still getting a decent amount of farm on the sniper, but still no BKB on him. He is going to be saving up for that, however. It's going to stop a decent amount of the damage and control coming out from Isurus, but not enough, it feels, since Pepita is really hitting very hard. Now that Vengeance Aura has come online with 2 points, he's sitting on plus 71 damage, but more impressive still is his almost 200 base damage, which his illusions are also going to share.
Not to mention the feedback damage, which is going to be a pain in the ass for Gnar. Oh man, this is pretty dangerous for Gnar. There, you can see how much this game has actually changed just by how Gnar are positioning themselves. They're all grouped up as 5. They're wandering around their own jungle now. They are still technically ahead in net worth, but now the experience lead is technically in favor of Isurus, and Gnar, they are going to have to wait a little bit longer for Roshan. In fact, a very long time until they'll have another shot at that. They need like a Desolator or something to help bring down these structures, or they need a Miracle team fight. They're going to go in once more down towards the bottom lane. Isurus have so far held this lane. Can they do it again? Pepita is going to make his TP back, and it looks like Isurus, they're in a decent enough position to defend it. Very long range away is Dulce. Nadera full back in prime position as well, so it doesn't seem like Gnar can get much done here except for that tier 3 tower. Ush is going to do what he can versus these creeps, but you have to actually focus the Raxes, but you can't really get that done.
No, let's see. Gnar, it's a step in the right direction, but this is a very dangerous game that they're playing at the moment. With the BKBs on PL and the Queen of Pain, I don't think that they can take an effective fight, so some way or another, I think they need to try to bait them out. And I think that involves them being caught split pushing alone and forced to BKB TP.
I think that was actually what they were trying to do right there. They kill off the tower, they show off the sniper a little bit, and try to draw the Isurus gaming side in, especially Dulce on that Spirit Breaker, but he doesn't take the bait. He's going to smarten up, although he's going to grab a haste rune, and he's on the run. There's a gem on Fogged, and do they see Dulce? They don't quite have the vision, although he'll run in right into an Observer Ward. Oh, no, he's still not in true sight range. They see DDX instead, but DDX has a clean blink out, and it's once again Gnar just unable to get anything going. Even though they do have everything and they're prepared for it, they just can't get in range. There's also Sheepstick, by the way, on Korok, so another way for them to cancel out that Spirit Breaker charge.
About 20 minutes ago, this game was looking completely differently. Gnar were in complete control of the map, and things have really slowed down since then. Oh, bench. Well, that used to be a bench. No longer, as Korok has dropped the Laguna Blade. She's not more than a crater.
Yeah, and that's something that the Lina can still very easily do. Vengeful Spirit still the most expendable, or maybe tied with the Chen as far as Isurus' heroes are concerned. So if anyone's going to get jumped by that, they want it to be the Vengeful Spirit. And, I mean, I guess they get their kind of wish, but yeah, it's not going to really cost Korok much of anything. In fact, he's back at full mana, or more or less full mana, and he will have that Laguna Blade soon enough. So it's a nice pick-off, but it's almost an insignificant pick-off in the grand scheme of things. If they do that to the Phantom Lancer, though, that means that Gnar can actually push, but Pepita has so far been doing a great job at making sure that he does get into a position where he's really substantially punishable.
Yeah, Phantom Lancer is nearing ever closer to having that Eye of Scotty. He has enough money to complete it now, but he's going to want to save for buyback. He's, give or take, 600 gold till he has the Eye of Scotty and buyback too.
Well, they'll still go down towards this bottom lane. Lina's going to travel in. I mean, last time Gnar went for this, they got a tier 3 tower. Range Rax, realistically, is the only thing that they could grab right now. If they go for melee, I could almost guarantee that that's not going to happen. Nadera, short glimpse back, just looking for an opportunity. Actually, no, they're going to try to go for melee, or at least Sniper's going to try to go for it. Again, they're just trying to bait Isurus out of their base, but Isurus are not going to budge right now. Pepita, unfortunately for the Isurus side, has to be here for these defenses because you don't know if Gnar are serious about this push or not. So he's not off doing something else, especially farming. But Gnar aren't really farming either. They have all their troops here because they kind of need to.
Yeah, definitely so. Neither team is really taking any significant advantage. If anything, Isurus are going to be happy. Oh, Blink Burrow Strike coming out from MSS. They'll swap back. Fullback's going to give his life willingly to the enemy team. Ash going to kill off that bench pretty quickly. A Spirit Lance is going to go over to a handful of creeps, and just like that, it's a 4v5, but again, it's the Venge dying. I don't think that really is going to worry Isurus too much.
Well, it's going to worry them a little bit more than the last one just because Gnar are this time in position for a legitimate dangerous push. And without that swap, your Queen of Pain and Phantom Lancer are going to have to be a little more careful. Blink in from Chad. Going to go straight for DDX. Double nukes from the Lion and the Lina. They bring down the Queen of Pain immediately. But here comes Dulce. Going to go straight for Fog. Needs to get that Static Storm off. He does, but everyone's BKB'd, so it doesn't actually do that much. Ush now is in a bad position. They're going to try to go for DDX, but he's still surviving. Blink in with that Epicenter doing a lot of damage to Dulce and Pepita, but not enough for lethal damage. Ush still surrounded by Phantom Lancer clones, and he will be brought down. However, Pepita, he's dropping very low as well. He's going to man-fight it out with MSS, who's completely out of man. Pepita still going to town on the Sand King. He's going to drop low and lower, but he's still surviving. He will immediately be brought down by a Dragon Slave in the end, and he does have a buyback. Korok's still alive, only with that Lion, who actually is going to be in the mid lane, but Korok is the ultimate survivor right now, and with only Chen to defend, they either buy back on the Lancer or lose their Raxes, and it looks like that buyback is a little bit too expensive. It's a narrow victory for Gnar, but it's a victory nonetheless.
Yeah, in the end, they're the ones to come away with the structure, and, well, let's see if this is the right move. Isurus, I don't think they're going to lose any other lanes of barracks, but can Gnar force out this buyback on the PL and make him regret his decision to save it? Yule Scepter over onto the Chen, right into an LSA is going to land with the Laguna Blade. No more damage is necessary, and that's actually a gem fed over to the Lion, so not an insignificant pick off there. Lena's not leaving this base, and for good reason. Everybody on Isurus' side is dead.
Well, it seems like that was the team fight that Gnar actually needed. Unfortunately, they don't have the sniper here, so they're pushing. Though decent with this Lina hitting for 200 damage a pop isn't really going to be the end-all. Here comes the buyback from the Lancer. Chad going to try to intercept him with the Hex. He does get that one out and then has a clean blink away. Pepita, not with a great way of giving chase, is going to have to let that Lion go. So buyback successfully forced out from the two remaining Gnar heroes, not to mention the fact that they put some serious damage onto the mid lane tier 3. So next time they're ready for a push, it's just going to take the sniper just a couple of shots from his gun to bring that tower down. So Gnar finally taking Raxes, and that is just step one. At this point, Isurus can still deal with being a Rax down because Pepita can just send a couple of Manta Illusions, or real illusions, I guess non-Manta Illusions, down to that lane and shove that one out as much as he can. So it's nice for sure for Gnar, but they need two before they're going to really feel comfortable in this game.
Yeah, I think so as well. I'm pretty sure that Pepita should have bought back a little bit earlier there. Maybe, just maybe, they could have defended the barracks, or at the very least stop the damage from going into the tier 3 tower in mid. But still, it's going to look pretty nice for Gnar V. Now that they've gotten that barracks, they can breathe a little bit easier. The sniper's nearing on his 6-slotted status. It's going to be a butterfly for Ush, which is going to be completed pretty much whenever he wants to. He's 300 gold away, and he'll probably want to save for buyback, but still, this is a big item. Refresher on Lina, not something we get to see, but the amount of nuke that you can put out is redonkulous. 950 pure damage that pierces BKB onto the likes of anybody on Isurus is almost going to be a direct kill. The Queen of Pain and the Phantom Lancer do survive for that, but only just over in mid. MSS going to get jumped. Pepita going to be able to pop the BKB and walk through the Static Storm, but he's getting kited around. First ultimate, second ultimate going to be dropped into Pepita. He's down low, forced to W away. He's going to doppelganger down to the low ground and will make it out alive. Sniper still shooting. He hasn't been forced to leave this spot, and Ush is going to kill off DDX very easily. Korok hits the last hit. Spirit Breaker trying to charge away. Looks like he's going to be successful. There's nothing to stop it. But Isurus lose their Queen of Pain. She's down for good. Now they're going to lose their Venge as well. She gets nuked down. Korok with the double.
It's a nice opening in theory for Isurus until they realize that they're not in a position to actually apply pressure to this sniper. That was the first fight where Gnar were actually able to keep their sniper in the back lines because everyone else was just getting walled off by every single stun that Gnar had, not to mention the power of that double Laguna Blade. It almost killed off that Phantom Lancer instantly. It won't quite be enough to do that, but it forced him to run away, and once the Lancer disengages, you can breathe easy if you're that sniper. So Ush was able to fire away, was under absolutely zero pressure, and off of that great fight, because Isurus don't have buyback on this Queen of Pain, they're unable to defend. It's now going to be 2 Raxes, maybe even 3. They're really just testing right now to see if this Queen of Pain has buyback. Of course, the answer is no. Ush in a bad position this time, but blink forward onto Pepita. They're going to lay into him with the Laguna Blade, refresh, and now they're going to get a double burst check onto Nadera as well. Korok is going to close the distance. LSA going to connect onto Nadera, but he gets swapped out. Where is Ush? He's still going to sit right in front of the Raxes. He's firing away. And Nar took them a little while, but off of a couple of good team fights, they do win game 1.
At the end, no pressure was applied to Sniper in those last 2 fights, and a Sniper that's left alone is a happy Sniper indeed. It's going to be North American Rejects to take game number 1, but it was a pretty close fight for both teams. There was moments where Isurus potentially could have come back. It's also worth noting that game 2 is going to be on Brazil servers, so we'll have to see if Isurus can tie this one out.
Alright guys, we'll be right back for game 2. I'm Mikelorus. I've been joined by GrandisV, and North American Rejects, they did express some discontent about the second game being in the Brazil servers, so who knows. Ping is something you don't really want to worry about, but what are you going to do? We'll be right back for game 2, guys.